So our video explaining Sage Mode did very well, and because of that, people have been asking me to explain different power systems in Naruto. Well, really, they've been asking for one in particular, and that one is the curse mark. Here's a little fun fact: it's actually a cursed seal, and getting my content for free is a steal. So why don't you do me a favor and go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. So let's open up these videos as we tend to open up these videos and answer the easiest question: what is the curse seal? And at face value, it seems like a really easy question to answer, right? It's an orochimaru hiki that gives you weird patterns on your face and you get stronger. But here's the thing: it's actually much more complex than that. I got hot. Shout out to Buck Lucky and Corpse House, though. This is my tattoo artist clothing brand. Highly recommend you guys look into it. So the curse mark is all of the things that we simplified it to be. It is an orochimaru hiki that gives you weird markings and a power up, but at its base, the way that it was created, that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. Obviously, it was created by Orochimaru, but in order to create it, he had to do research on Jugo. Jugo, for those of you who don't remember, is one of the 4 members of Taka, you know, Sasuke's little spin-off Akatsuki, and he has a Kekkei Genkai that's specific to his clan, whose name we don't know, that allows everybody in his clan to always be pulling in nature energy. This comes with massive benefits, like always having chakra around, but also massive detractors, like the fact that sometimes they will take on physical deformities and fly into murderous rages. Because here's the thing about always pulling in nature chakra: you don't get to just use nature chakra. You have to mix that chakra with your own chakra in order to create senjutsu chakra. So at any given point of the day, while sleeping, eating, just hanging out, you need to be molding this nature chakra with your own chakra. Otherwise, the nature chakra will begin to fill up your body. And here's the thing: this is just raw, uncut nature energy. It's not learned from the toads. It's not learned from the snakes. So when you start to get too much of this nature energy, you don't get toad-like appearances like Jiraiya or snake-like appearances like Kabuto. You just kind of turn into a monster. You can grow horns or other appendages or jets on your arms. And if you take in way too much, you lose control of your own mind and you become this physical manifestation of chakra, much like a tailed beast that flies into a murderous rage. But Orochimaru saw Jugo and his ability to constantly be making senjutsu chakra and wanted to find a way to spread that to other people for 2 reasons. He could make the people under him more powerful by being able to pull in the senjutsu chakra. They essentially become sages. And secondly, he saw how this constant bombardment of nature energy can disintegrate somebody's mind and make them lose their sense of self, which makes them much easier to mold to your own will. So by reverse engineering this Kekkei Genkai, he was able to create the curse seal of both heaven and earth. That's right, there's 2 different kinds of curse seals. It's generally assumed that he was able to pull this off because while Orochimaru was a failed snake sage, he did still train often at Ryuchi Cave. Because of this, he was very familiar with the molding of nature energy with physical energy to make senjutsu chakra. Therefore, reverse engineering Jugo's Kekkei Genkai is believed to have been a relatively easy task for him. Once Orochimaru mastered this technique, well, I guess mastered is a loose term considering what I'm about to tell you, he then started applying it to everybody he could get his hands on. Only problem with the curse mark is that it kills 9 out of 10 people it gets applied to. Orochimaru found this out when he applied the curse mark to 10 people, Anko being one of them, and she was the only person who survived. So he established a 1 in 10 rule. It's not really how science works. You definitely need a larger testing group than that, but let's be happy he didn't have a larger testing group. I mean, Yamato was 1 in 70. Where does he keep getting these kids? Oh, yeah, Naruto is the world where they send 12-year-olds to fight their wars. Never mind, childcare, not top of their list. So we've talked about how the curse seal was created and the lethality of it. But now let's talk about how it's administered and the powers that it gives. Unfortunately for you, the only way you can get a cursed seal is straight from Orochimaru himself. He has to bite you somewhere on your body, and that will create a cursed seal on that part of your body. The reason we say it's a hiki is because Sasuke got it on his neck, but I mean, Kimimaro had it on his chest. That being said, how do you bite somebody in the chest? I feel like you would kind of bounce off, right? So now that you've received the curse seal from Orochimaru and you survived, good job. You might need a little therapy, that's okay, but you've also received a massive power up. Essentially, after you deal with the massive pain that comes over you as you try to normalize this curse mark being on your body, you can now access the first form of the curse mark. And honestly, I think the first form is way more interesting than the second form. I'll tell you why. So we're all very familiar with what the first form looks like. For Sasuke, it kind of looks like he has flames coming across his face. Kimimaru, they were lines. Everybody has different markings that come along with their curse seal. And this first form increases your speed, dexterity, power, ninjutsu, genjutsu. Think of it just like straight up Sage mode and how that enhances Naruto, or like the 8 gates and how those enhance Rock Lee, Might Guy, all of them. It's an overall boost. And here's the thing, you can control how much that first form gives you in terms of power. So you know when it's first activated, it'll only appear on part of the face or part of the arm or something like that. But as the fight continues, the seal continues to creep over the face, over the body in general. This isn't an involuntary reaction. Well, at least in most cases, it's not. That is actually a physical manifestation of how much of the first form's power you're using. If the curse mark is 50% across your body, you're using 50% of the first form's power. If it goes 100% across, you're using the maxed out power. Well, the maxed out power of the first form, at least. And that's what brings us to the second form of the curse seal. This is also something we're very familiar with. We saw it a lot in OG Naruto. Essentially, when you've done all that you can with the first form of the curse seal, you enter the second form. And that second form usually brings a lot of physical changes to your body. For Sasuke, it gave him hand wings. For Jirobo, it changed his hair and made him bigger. For Sakon and Ukon, it made them red demons with stone arms. You get where I'm going with this. And what's kind of cool about all of this is that the second form really begins to show you that this is definitely derivative of Jugo, because all of these second forms look so much like the form that he enters when he pulls in too much nature energy. Problem is that not everybody can just hop into the second form immediately. It's a lot like the 8 gates. It takes practice and time. After getting the curse seal, you can only pretty much access the first mode. But after you have some time with the curse seal on your body, if you're good enough with it, you can open to the second phase. At least that's the circumstance with Sasuke. If you're looking at people like the Sound 4, the situation is a bit different. While they've all had their curse marks for a long time, I guess you could say they're not as talented as Sasuke. That wouldn't physically hurt me to say. But your average person to awaken to the second form of the curse seal has to take another little doozy from Orochimaru, the Mind Awakening pill. Now this pill is really cool. It allows you to take in as much of Orochimaru's Senjutsu chakra as possible. That allows you to ascend to the second form that makes you massively more powerful. Allows you to put a hole through Neji. Before that was cool. It allows you to essentially beat a red-pilled Choji in a fight. It allows you to push Shikamaru to his edge until Tamari came around to save him. And the pill does exactly what it says it does. It awakens your mind and allows you a stronger form that is more compatible with the power-up of that second form. Only problem though is one of the side effects is death. When you're working with Orochimaru, like the entire experience, a side effect is death. So the fact that you have to actively take a pill to even roll that dice, pretty good odds. So now we've covered how it was made, how it's applied, and what it does to those it's applied to. But I think the biggest question with curse seals is why. Also, I'd like to take this chance to address what I said earlier when I said there was 2 different types of curse sealed. One being the curse seal of heaven, one being the curse seal of earth. There's almost no discernible difference between them. We know Kimimaru had a curse seal of earth and that everybody else's curse seal of heaven. They both have first and second forms. They both make you stronger and look weird in the second form. There's like literally no difference. Just because I had a feeling people were gonna be like, whoa, is there a difference between the 2? There's not. I don't even know why we have to. But back to the why, because this is probably the most interesting question revolving around curse seals in general. Orochimaru doesn't implant these into people to keep his posse strong. It's a nice added side bonus, but in reality, he plants them on people to keep himself alive. We all know Orochimaru is obsessed with the notion of immortality. He's terrified of death. That's why he was so afraid of Hiruzen when he pulled out the Death Reaper seal. When Orochimaru implants a curse seal on somebody, he implants his entire consciousness in them, sort of. By implanting his chakra into a target that survives this curse seal marking, he essentially creates a way for himself to reincarnate should he ever pass. This is where we start talking about evil releasing jutsu. This is a jutsu that's floated around curse seals for about as long as curse seals have existed. The first instance of evil releasing jutsu being seen that we see is that after Sasuke gets his curse seal, then Kakashi uses evil releasing jutsu on it to essentially bind it and make it dormant. Actually, the use of this Fuin jutsu or binding jutsu is the reason that Sasuke's curse mark never activates involuntarily, which is something we see relatively often in other curse mark users. I know this whole video I've been saying curse seal and curse mark like 50-50. My brain is gone. It has been for 25 years. In fact, evil releasing jutsu is so powerful, it probably would have been enough to keep that curse seal dormant the entirety of Sasuke's life. There's one problem though. The strength of that Fuin jutsu is largely dependent on Sasuke never voluntarily activating the curse mark. And if you've seen Naruto, you've seen he did that like many times. So because of that, the curse mark began to get its hooks into Sasuke. By dipping his toe into this power, he saw a massive power up that allowed him to be on par with one-tail cloaked Naruto. But at the same time, he was disintegrating his mind in losing his sense of self. In fact, this got so bad that he reached out to Orochimaru to train him in the time skip between Naruto and Shippuden. And in that sense, the curse mark worked perfectly. Orochimaru found a candidate to switch his bodies with, got him on the hook with a curse mark, and then he just came to it. But the thing is, that relationship didn't last forever. And that's why we see the second circumstance of evil releasing jutsu. Essentially, one day, Sasuke gets sick of having a weird snake guy as his boss and fights a weakened Orochimaru and kills him. It's at this point that Sasuke actually pulls an Uno reverse card on Orochimaru and absorbs him into his body, kind of like how Orochimaru wanted to steal Sasuke's body. I mean, I guess in a sense, Orochimaru still ended up inside of Sasuke, so it wasn't like the worst thing that could have happened for Orochimaru, but he wasn't in the driver's seat by any means. But just because Orochimaru's body was dead doesn't mean that he was dead. He is semi-immortal, remember? He still had curse marks out there. He still had Sasuke's, and he still had Anko's, two people that were carrying his conscience around. So when the war arc came around and Sasuke figured that we needed somebody to use Edo Tensei to bring the most important and powerful people back on Earth and also have an important and strong fighter on our side, he wanted to reincarnate Orochimaru. Only problem is he couldn't use his own curse mark to get back Orochimaru's consciousness, because when he fought against Itachi, Itachi's entire plan was to use the Sword of Totsuka to get Orochimaru out of Sasuke, therefore making sure he would never have an Uchiha as a vessel. To this day, bro, people still don't realize Itachi was fighting Sasuke to help him and still almost won. And the Sword of Totsuka, for those of you who don't read Naruto data books and things like that, is Itachi's sword that he holds in the right hand of his Susanoo. It's an orange blade with absurd abilities. Essentially, if you're stabbed with it, it will seal you into a dimension called the world of drunken dreams. Your soul gets sent to a dimension where you spend eternity just being really dizzy. It's an absolute nightmare. So Orochimaru's physical body that Sasuke had absorbed and the chakra and consciousness that came along with the curse seal were all pulled out of Sasuke in that fight. That's why Sasuke had to abduct Anko. Sasuke used the evil releasing method to release the consciousness and chakra from Anko's curse mark in order to bind those two things to a piece of Kabuto's modified flesh. Because apparently the evil releasing jutsu can either shut down a curse mark or open one up. And just like that, Orochimaru was back alive. We don't talk enough about the fact that a curse mark is essentially a karma marking from Boruto though. Massive power up when you use it, but it slowly takes over your body the more that you use it, and it will eventually reincarnate the person who put it on you. I mean, Orochimaru had Otsutsuki tech like 12 years before that was cool. And just like that, we've addressed the why. So in summation, Orochimaru found somebody with a unique Kikagenkai, said, I wish I could hand that out to more people, created the curse seal, put it on a bunch of people, realized it killed a bunch of people, but hey, if they open to that second form, makes them 10 times stronger than they used to be. We know that because Jirobo told us that. Found a way to part up his consciousness into multiple little vessels that can carry around a backup save of his brain, and then eventually used it to come back to life. Say what you will about the dude, he's pretty smart. Just like how it'd be pretty smart of you to like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Because if you love me explaining Naruto power systems or even power systems from other anime, we might be looking into other anime pretty soon here, by the way, then I would love your support. I'm not saying Orochimaru should have more hate in his heart for the Uchihas than Tobirama, but he did get smacked by both Itachi and Sasuke.